Hey everybody, this is Guy Magno. Welcome back to Chit Chat. I'm so thankful that you're here. I'm so thankful for this community who has continued to show up and listen to this podcast. We're so thankful. I am so thankful for you. Today, you get a wonderful opportunity to listen to a podcast that I just got done recording with Jim Maurice. Jim has been working for WJON, a local news organization here in St. Cloud for almost 20 years. I think he has a really unique seat in our community of being able to communicate with and meet so many incredible people that are trying to make St. Cloud better in their own kind of way and then help tell their story. So it's similar to what we're trying to do here. And so it was fun to talk to him about what we love in our community and some of our favorite restaurants and why telling the story of a community is important. So I'm excited for you to hear that now. Thank you so much for listening. We really, seriously, we appreciate the audience that's growing here, this little community. Thank you so much. All right. Well, Jim, thank you so much for coming and joining us on the podcast. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, great. Jim, would you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Jim Maurice. I am the news director at Town Square Media, also known as WJON Radio here in town. I've been there for going on 19 years now, so I've been a longtime resident of St. Cloud and working in this area.
Cool. And were you from St. Cloud before you started working here, or did you move here for the job?
Moved here for the job. Born and raised Minnesotan. I've lived in Minnesota my whole life, from small towns in west central and southwestern Minnesota, and then when the job opportunity came here in St. Cloud, I moved here. So.
What's that like to move to a community for the purpose of being, a part of the mouthpiece of that community and having to kind of like learn the community on the fly? What is that like?
I think the best thing about where I work and the job that I have is that I had to dive right in. So I didn't have like a chance to kind of ease into it when you're doing this role as a reporter and working in news. Like from the get-go, you have to kind of learn your way around town and know what community is what. And so I think that helped. I met a lot of people right away that helped me feel comfortable in the town right away. I've felt very welcomed ever since I've been here. So that's been a good experience.
That's cool. Really, really neat. How would you say our community, St. Cloud, how is it different than other communities in central Minnesota, or not in central Minnesota, but just in Minnesota?
Obviously, I think we're a pretty diverse community for sure. This is, again, the largest community that I've lived in. I grew up in a town of 400 people.
Okay.
And then I worked for 10 years in Redwood Falls, which is about 5,000 people. So I moved to what I consideed a big city when I moved here. I think it's great because it has a lot of opportunities for arts and entertainment. Like people, like friends that I have outside of St. Cloud are always, I wouldn't say jealous, but they're envious of the fact that I have so many opportunities to go hear live music or go watch a play at the Paramount or go to something downtown, craft cocktails or whatever it is. And so I think there is just a lot of great opportunities in St. Cloud if you know where to look and where to find them.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, cool. Would you just tell our audience a little bit about WJON? I know there's a big radio component of what you guys do at Town Square, but then also, when I think of WJON, I think the thing that I think of the most is all of the news stuff. Like if I want to know, if I want to know something that's going on in St. Cloud, I go to WJON. I often will go to Facebook. It's actually one of the only things that I'll actually go to Facebook for, is to actually go to the Facebook page for WJON. But just tell us a little bit more about WJON, what you guys do, what you care about.
Well, I'm still old school, so I still consider, when people ask me, I work in radio. I always say I work in radio, but I do know that WJON is a multimedia platform now. Our company that owns us is multimedia. So we have the terrestrial, traditional radio, WJON, which people still listen to. People are surprised by that. People still listen to the radio. But then we have our website, which is very important to us as well. Yeah. So every news story that I write, no matter what it is, I write a story that goes on the radio, but I also write a story specifically for the website, which also gets shared on our multi-platforms, our mobile app, our social media accounts, as you said, and everything else. So we write local. That's the most important thing that we care about, is we want to be a source for people to find local news. Yeah. They can get a lot of places cover the state news or certainly the national news. All of
There's
that.
no shortage of that.
There's no shortage of that. So we really want to be the place to go for you guys to turn to find your local news, what's happening in our community, St. Cloud and the St. Cloud metro area. Yeah. And we pride ourselves in the fact that we either know what's going on or we'll find out what's going on if we don't know what's going on. Yeah. So, and it's been a great experience. And I think the fact that our company has committed to keeping local reporters in town has been a blessing for me. It's been a really a great experience.
Yeah, I guess in the last 20 years, there has been some massive shifts in reporting and news and media in general. What has it been like to be a news professional through all of that change and to kind of be here now and kind of the new frontier of news?
Well, it's so different, like, again, I've been in this town for almost 20 years, but I've been in radio for 35, 36 years, whatever it is. It's changed so much. We used to have our own silos. We were radio, and the newspaper would write a printed story, and it'd come out the next day. And TV, of course, has its own little niche now, and everybody is just kind of like jumbled together now, especially in this immediate news cycle that we live in. You can't wait 24 hours to tell the news. It's got to be right now, right?
Now. Or it didn't happen.
Right. So so the playing field kind of got leveled, right? So we can put a story out on our website with pictures and audio and video sometimes, the same as, like newspapers can do. And so everybody's kind of doing the same thing. And so it's really changed the way or news organizations report the news, whether it's TV, print, or radio.
Interesting. What keeps you coming back to it? Like, what's the draw to being a reporter? Like, what do you love about that?
I get that question a lot because I speak at like chamber meetings and things like that, and people always ask me about it. And I still absolutely love the industry. I have just as much passion for my job as I did, 36 years ago. I still think there's a place for us. I think it's important that we have news organizations in a community telling people what's going on. So I wake up every day excited about what that story is going to be that's going to make a difference to people. Whether it's a simple fun story about a play that's coming to the Paramount Theater, or something that's just very lighthearted, or something that's more serious, whether it's a presidential rally in town over the weekend or anything like that. So I still think that local news is very important. I grew up, my parents were big consumers of local news, and so I grew up around that, and I still believe that we provide a valuable service to this community, and I wholeheartedly believe that.
Sweet. In your 20 years here in this community, what article have you worked on, or story have you been a part of telling that you think has gotten the most eyeballs?
Wow, that's a good question. Yeah, certainly when Jacob Wetterling's body was found,
right.
that was a huge weekend
Lots
for us.
of national attention on that.
Lots of national attention on that, but also obviously just here in our community, that was something that we never ever thought would happen.
Yeah.
And it happened on a Labor Day weekend where that story broke, and so that was just a huge moment in our time that I think I'll always remember being a part of that.
Yeah. And were you interviewing the Wetterling family? Were you like, what did that look like when you got the phone call, or however you found out, like, what did you need to do?
Right. So, it was a lot of like, things are trickling out, little nuggets are getting out there. So how do we make this happen? I've got Janelle Kendall's cell phone. I've got the sheriff at the time, his cell phone. I had contacts with the Wetterling family. They're not returning any of my messages or my phone calls because they just were not ready to speak to the media at that point yet, which was frustrating at first and understandable after the fact. They had certain things that they had to do. So it was like a lot of wait. And then when they were ready to tell their story, they told it fully. And we appreciated everything that they did. So all of those people I just mentioned understood how important the media was for that story for all of those years. So they weren't trying to shut the media out, but they just had to make sure that they had all of their ducks in a row before they said anything. So that was a big one. Another big story, of course, is when the officer from Cold Spring was shot and killed. That was another big story. So we've had some tragic stories. So not every story is a fun story to tell. We've had our share of big national stories in our community. The stabbing at the mall, of course, was another one. So there are many stories over the years, nationally known stories in our community that we've had to tell over the years.
What an interesting dichotomy. And it has to be true because it's true in a community, but there are really, really, really hard things like the things that you've just mentioned. And then also we spend time getting excited about a new restaurant that opens and Little League and just all of the things that make up a community. And you are covering, to some extent, all of those things. And I'm guessing that on occasion does it ever feel like a little bit of a whiplash when you're kind of going back and forth between things that might feel trivial in comparison to some of those big, heavy stories.
Right, it does feel a little that way, but it's also fun to like have that diversity.
Sure.
Like not every story is going to be that really heavy, sad story. I tell you, like the biggest, most popular stories we have on our website, social media, are always business openings and closings, specifically restaurant openings and closings.
Yeah.
People love those stories. And so when I find out about a story that, that I get to tell about a new restaurant coming to town, I get very excited about that because I know people are going to be fired up over that. Sometimes I know things that I can't report on yet, so I kind of have to sit on it and keep my mouth shut for a few months until they're ready to talk to me. And then usually people get pretty excited about stuff like that.
With your role and kind of your position, do you have friends that come to you like kind of looking for a scoop? Like, oh,
Yes.
I heard this in the community, but Jim, why don't you tell me what's really going on? Like, do you have to field that?
Yes, whether it's like neighborhood backyard parties or just today I got a text from one of my neighbors, what's going on here? So like people like consider me like their inside scoop, if you will.
Oh, that's so good.
So it is kind of a fun job to have too, because if there is something going on, let's say people are driving down Division, they see some work being done or like construction, like they'll text me like, what's going on here? Usually I can say, well, I don't know what's going on, but I think I know the people that can tell me what's going on. And then I text the mayor or whoever from the city and they can give me the answer. So it's kind of fun to have that inside scoop too on what's going on in town.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of the mayor, I think we're heading into a really unique season. With certainty, we're going to have a mayoral candidate or a mayoral change. And our community hasn't had that for a really, really long time. From your seat of communicating with every different kind of person. And I mean, my guess is you have a pretty good gauge, a wide swath understanding of our population. What do you hope that whoever our new mayor is, what do you hope they do? What do you hope that they care about or mantle do you hope that they kind of pick up?
Yeah, well, first of all, I have to say that I think Mayor Kleiss is the only mayor I've ever worked with. He's been in his position just as long as I have.
Yeah, of course.
So when he announced that he wasn't going to run again, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a big change for me. Like I can text the mayor about anything and he'll respond back. And it's just a nice, communication that I have with Mr. Kleiss. And he is a wonderful man and he certainly loves this community.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to be a big change. But I'm also excited about the fact that there's going to be a new mayor. I
feel both of those things too.
Fresh blood and just some new ideas. And so there's 6 people running. Later this month, we'll have the top 2. And I've had a chance to sit down with all 6 of the candidates and interview them and learn a little bit about them. They're very different people with different perspectives. All, I believe, are running for, good reasons. And it'll just be interesting. I think what I'm looking for mostly from those people is a positive attitude. Whoever the next mayor is, a positive attitude. They'll just take the community forward in a positive new way, and get people excited in the community about what we have. I believe our community is great. Obviously, it's not perfect and it needs some work, but I believe we have a good community. And so I want whoever is the mayor to also have that enthusiasm to help elevate us to another level.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think St. Cloud is a really special community, and I think it'll be really interesting and really fun to see who jumps in and gives it their all, and it'll be whoever that is, it'll be our job as citizens to jump in and help
them and support them and hopefully make them as successful as they possibly can be.
Yeah, I for sure won't ask you, but like having sat down, I won't ask you who, but you've sat down with all 6 of them. Do you have an idea of who you will vote for? Like having sat down now and kind of understanding their positions, do you know who you vote for?
No, I have not decided.
Okay.
I will vote on primary day. I always wait to vote on primary day. I never vote early. So I will go and vote on primary day, and I don't really know yet who I'm going to vote for. And that's the honest truth. I'm not being a Mr. News reporter. Like that's trying to evade the question. I'm not sure. I think there are a couple people that really have good vision for our town.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great. I live in Sartell, and so I have a vested interest, and I can support and kind of hoorah in my own kind of way, but I won't have a vote.
Sure.
And so, What are some of the things that you love most about our community?
I think, it goes back to the arts and entertainment for sure. I'm not an artist. I wish I had that kind of talent. I don't, so I appreciate it when other people do. I love our live music scene. That's probably the first thing that comes to mind. I love going to, live music on a patio somewhere, or Summertime by George, or down to the Paramount or the Veranda Lounge and listening to live music. So I seek out a lot of live music, just because we have so many talented artists in our community. It's just phenomenal. Like, I think we kind of take them for granted.
Sure.
Not every community has what we have when it comes to live music. So that's a big thing. And then I think like the restaurants, I think we have more diverse restaurants than people realize. We're kind of doing this little thing, my husband and I were doing this thing where we're trying to go out and seek out new restaurants. And so we have two missions. We can't repeat a country, and it has to be in the St. Cloud metro area. And so once every couple of weeks, we'll go out and find Vietnamese food or Korean food or Mexican food, or I think we've been to 8 different countries without leaving the St. Cloud metro area. So that's been very fun. And it's been a diverse community in a very good way, I think.
Yeah. So I've met Jim only one time. He came and spoke at a chamber leadership thing and talked about news and talked about WJO and all that stuff. And that's when I had this idea, oh man, it'd be incredible if he could come and be on the podcast. And it was there that you had said that thing about the restaurants. And you told me then about Safari Point.
Oh.
You said that it was the Ethiopian place I had went to. And so I was like, oh, well, absolutely love curries, and I love East African food, and so I'll go and try it. And now I don't even know how many times I have been since that. And so because of your recommendation, I have now been so many times, and I have brought with so many people because the food is so good.
I'm so happy that you're an advocate for it, because I am for that place too. I haven't been back a second time, and I don't know why I haven't, because every time people ask me about it, because they're curious about it, it's out of people's comfort zones, right? People ask me about it. I say, absolutely, you should go and try it. It's a unique experience. Did you use your hands?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
So did I, yeah. And so that was it was fun. It was unique. And I certainly give them all my support, because it was great.
Yeah. When the first time I was there was a group of 3 men that were sitting at a table, and the woman brought out a jug of something with a little stopper on it, a couple little small cups, and then there was like incense burning. And then I saw her pour it, and it looked like coffee. And so I just Googled. I said, Ethiopian coffee incense, ? And then I read all about how in Ethiopia they serve coffee with like burning incense, and how it's the smell of the incense, the taste of the coffee with the added buzz of caffeine mixed with conversation. So it's this like combination of things that you're meant to like mix all together that kind of makes you feel alive. And I was like, that is so wonderful. And so we, of course, ordered it and drank the Ethiopian coffee and had the little, I don't even know what the scent is, but it was just a really fun cultural experience right here in St. Cloud.
So as a coffee guy, though, how would you rate that coffee? I've heard Ethiopian coffee is phenomenal, but I didn't have it.
There's kind of 2 questions there. Ethiopian coffee is my favorite coffee. So like the beans themselves, it's my favorite place to drink coffee. But then it also has to be prepared really, really well. And so there are kind of 2 things there. And so pro Ethiopian coffee, and it was an interesting coffee experience, which I have gone back. I've had it multiple times, but I think I maybe loved the cultural experience of it more than I actually loved the product itself.
The time we went, she wanted to make it for us. We were kind of crunched on time, and so we're like, we'll come back for that another time. So I didn't have the coffee experience, but I want to go back and just have that experience, because it sounds like it's a cultural experience.
I've now watched a handful of groups drink coffee, and they all drink, I mean, like the vast majority of people who I've seen drinking the Ethiopian coffee, they do the same. You've got the little cup, and it is a substantial amount of sugar. It's served with like a little jar of sugar, a substantial amount of sugar, pour coffee, a little stir, and then drinking it, which is substantially sweeter than I normally like to drink my coffee, but it seems like that's maybe the kind of the appropriate way. But it was so good. And then the Safi tea, I like the tea so much better. But anyway, 10 out of 10, would recommend. Majority of the time, it's these 2 ladies that are in there. They're just absolutely lovely and kind. And there have been times when I've been sitting there, like finishing a lunch meeting, and we're done with our food, and we're just sitting there and talking and hanging out, and she'll bring like a little treat or something, just like as a thank you for. I don't know. She's just gracious and warm, and I can't recommend it enough. So I hope everybody goes.
Every place we go, I said, I've never been here before. I don't know what to order. Give me the most Ethiopian thing you have on your menu, or whatever country I'm going to. And like, they are always so, their eyes light up because they're so excited about that. You know, somebody's trying them that's never tried them before.
It's so fun to share. It's so fun to share things that you care about, things that you know about, with people that are willing and excited to learn. Such a fun thing.
Very cool.
What are some of your other favorite, in your little exploration of these different countries and foods, like what are some of your other favorite places that you guys have had?
The first one we did we went to the Hajime.
Yeah.
We went there. That was our first experience. We weren't brave enough to have the sushi, so I have to go back there and have sushi. The Japanese food that they served us was just phenomenal. It was so fantastic. But now I have to go back and try sushi because I've never had that before. I've never had sushi in my life.
Really?
No.
It is my favorite food.
Oh, really?
It's my favorite
And
food.
people have said time and time again since I posted that they have phenomenal. People come from all over central Minnesota just to eat there for their sushi. So I know it's good. I just have to go back.
Sweet. All right. So you've had Japanese food at Hajime. You've had Ethiopian food at Safari Point. What other places have you been on your little journey?
We did the Greek Mediterranean place downtown and had we stayed away from the gyros because we get a gyro at the Benton County Fair. We're gonna do something different. So we had some other stuff, and I forget what it's called on their menu because I can't recall it, but the Greek food was great too. Just very, very good.
And that guy that runs that in there is so great. Again, his customer service is so good. There's something incredible, and it feels. I don't know. We've maybe just in general some of like the hospitality that is supposed to kind of come with like food, and as you're preparing food for people, there is this like you're kind of in my home thing, and I think just in general in our world, we just don't do a lot of that kind of like hospitality thing inside the hospitality industry. And so when you go to a restaurant or you go to a place and they're just like so genuinely excited that you're there is something that is so fun about that. Like, oh, you're excited we're here. I'm excited we're here too.
Right.
And the Greek Cravings downtown, I
Yes.
have experienced that many times in there with him.
He's shaving off the meat and like it's just very authentic and like he's very enthusiastic about it, like you say, Superman. And it was busy. Like, we were there on a random, I don't know, Tuesday night or whatever, and people were coming and going constantly. So, those places are, people are seeking them out.
Yeah. Well, I hope more and more people do. Those are the kinds of places that like they feel essential to a really, really vibrant business community and a downtown community too.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so you've been in St. Cloud for 20 years, helping tell our story and document our story. What do you think's next? What's next for you in your role at Town Square or WJON? What are you excited about in our community?
I am excited about what's happening in the downtown. Like over my 20 years I've been here, there's been, little sparks, little interest. People want to improve the downtown. There's been little pockets of people trying to do things, and then it just never kind of gets off the ground. But I really feel like maybe there's a movement now that's greater than the downtown. And so I am excited about what can happen down there, whether it's, obviously the business community down there is important, but now it seems like the city is on board. Businesses outside of downtown are getting on board that are, out in the industrial park are getting on board. And so I think there is a real movement of things happening. I know people want it to happen fast. I want it to happen fast,
of course.
But it takes a long time. So it may be 5-10 years from now, but I think we could have a reimagined downtown in the next 5-10 years, which I think is very exciting.
Our downtown came up in a conversation with someone yesterday or the day before, and it was someone from not in St. Cloud, and they were asking questions about our downtown, like, tell me about your downtown and about the health of it, and kind of realize, or in thinking about other communities, I can't name. I don't know if it exists. I'd love to hear if there is, but a community that's of any sort of substantial size where the downtown has failed and the rest of it has been really successful.
Right.
I don't know if that exists. If the core isn't good, even if your business isn't in downtown, like businesses that are on the periphery, I think should really care about the health of our downtown as well.
Absolutely.
Because it feels like so much comes out of the center of our community and of our town. And so, whether you have a business downtown or not, I think we all should really, really care about how healthy that is. And
Right.
I feel the same. I'm excited. And I've said it. And downtown comes up a fair bit on the podcast, and I've said it before, but I'm excited about what's coming. I've been a lover of downtown for a long time, and so.
And of course, we're focusing and talking a lot about the city of St. Cloud, but I think the greater St. Cloud
Yeah.
metro area
Yeah.
has a lot to offer. Our communities, like, I love Sauk Rapids probably just as much as I love St. Cloud.
Yeah.
I spend a fair amount of time. I live on the east side of St. Cloud, so I spend a lot of time in Sauk Rapids, and I think that is just a fantastic community with
Yeah.
really fantastic people running that city. So I love them. St. Joe, of course. I mean, we could talk about St. Joe for another hour,
Yeah.
about what they're doing out there in their town. I mean,
Yeah.
there are a lot of great things about the St. Cloud metro area, all
Yeah.
of the communities that make up our metro area. And I think the fact that each town has its own uniqueness to it. Sartell. I mean, obviously you live in Sartell. You obviously know how great Sartell is. So each town has kept its identity, which I think is really cool. And like, I don't think people that live outside of the metro area, greater, they think of St. Cloud as St. Cloud, and they don't realize that all of these other communities
Really
have their
unique.
own
Yeah.
things to offer,
Yeah.
that are separate from the city of St. Cloud.
So at work for WJON, how far out is your coverage zone? Like how far out do you travel for stories?
We do primarily focus on the St. Cloud metro area just because of the manpower it takes.
Yeah.
We will dabble a little bit in our outlying communities, Rice, Foley, get out to Avon, that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So if there's a bigger story in one of those towns, we will tell those stories as well. I wish we had more people to help, because the St. Cloud metro area, 6 communities, 3 counties, several universities, that keeps us busy enough as it is.
Yeah.
So we would like to get out there. I know that people listen to us in those other towns, whether it's Holding, Ford, or Rice, and some of those other smaller towns. I know they consume our news.
Yeah.
They would love us to tell more of their stories. And, if there's a big story, they certainly can reach out to us and we'll tell that story. But we just can't focus as much on them as we would like.
What do you think what should we know about local news? Like, what would you want people to know about your job and about your role and maybe some of the pressures that are on you as a reporter and a newsman in our community?
I think the biggest thing, especially in the world we live in now where everything's instantaneous and people can talk about whatever they want to on social media, one of our main jobs, one of our main roles is to tell the facts and separate the rumors that are flying on social media to what the factual story is. So there could be something that happened, in town, whether it's, I don't know, like something crime related, and people are listening to a scanner and get the initial details, which may not be exactly correct or whatever, and then that just kind of like takes off like wildfire. And then people want to know why we're not reporting on it. Well, we're not going to report on something that either is on social media or was overheard on a scanner or anything. We have to get the facts from the people that know the facts, the police department, whoever, the city officials, whoever it is. And so we may not report on it immediately, but when we do report on it, we'll have all the details that correctly happens. So we're diligent about making sure that when we report a story, we're getting it, we're sourcing it out and making sure that we have the correct information. So sometimes people get a little frustrated with us that we don't report on something as quickly as we should in their minds. But we don't want to rush to judgment with anything either.
Far worse, I'm sure, than being behind on a story that maybe people are talking about on social would be to report incorrectly.
Yeah.
And then either have to hope, either recant or pull something back or just have your reputation as a news organization tarnished like that. That would be so much worse than being a handful of hours behind.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's important to us, that we fact check, that we get it correctly sourced, and we are talking to the people that actually know what's happening in our community. So sometimes that takes a little bit longer than we would even like, but it's important.
When did you know that you wanted to be in news, to be a reporter?
Since I was in the 6th grade.
Okay. And how?
It goes a long way.
How do 11-year-olds think to themselves, you know what? I want to be a reporter. How did that happen?
I was in the 6th grade. I lived in a small town out in west central Minnesota. It's called Maynard, Minnesota. And there was a very famous radio personality coming to our town, Charlie Boone and Erickson. They were the morning show on WCCO. Everybody in the state knew who they were. And he married a woman from our town. And so he had written a book. I think I still have the book with his autograph in my house somewhere. And he was coming to our town at the library to sign autographs. And so my parents were very excited about it. So they brought me. And I just saw, gosh, this guy is really famous and people are really excited about him. This is really, really cool. So this is what this is what I should do, you know? And so, and I just never veered off of that. Now, it was probably, in hindsight, it was probably not the smartest decision. I was a very shy kid growing up, very introverted. My voice is okay, but it's nothing, even now, it's not a radio voice. It is what it is. So it probably wasn't the best choice at the time, but I was committed and determined to do it. So after I graduated from high school, I went to radio school and started out working overnights and just worked my way up. So I just was always committed to it, and it hasn't let me down. I'm pretty happy with the choice.
That's cool. I'm guessing the overnight thing is probably a pretty common starting place.
Back then, back in the late 80s, early 90s, yes, that's where you started. You have to
pay your dues.
Pay your dues and work the overnight shift, and you're the only person in the building working by yourself overnight, and then you kind of work your way up into a daytime shift.
Yeah.
So,
my friends who are like nurses and doctors and stuff, it feels kind of similar there too, where it's like, you're gonna work through the night for a while.
Which is different now today. Like, of course, now I'll tell you a few secrets. Now we have automation, and people aren't really in the building in the middle of the night, which is another misconception that people have about radio. They really do think that they can email or call the station at any time of the day and get somebody, which doesn't happen anymore because we have automation and we have voice tracking, and like the people are just not there at night anymore.
Which is so good for like just being a human.
For being a human and having a life, yes. Yeah. But, like, I kind of like the fact that I paid my dues and started at night and worked on the weekends and did all those crappy shifts that really taught me the craft of the business. Yeah. And now, like, people coming out of college or whatever, they don't want to work a weekend and they don't want to work a night and they just want to have the best shift ever. And it's just like, well, that's not how it worked when I started, but they don't want to hear about the old guy that had to start working overnights, so.
And did you also have to walk uphill
yes,
to and from
ways,
school?
Yes.
Well, cool. Truthfully, I think what you're doing, we're just trying to be a small little part of that. Even here at the podcast is, I think we have a really neat community, and the people that are doing things in our community to help make our community better, that is exciting to me. And you don't have to look far to hear people kind of like dog on our community and stuff. And it's always hard for me. It's like, I don't know if you're in the same community that I am. Like, sure, there's challenges, but there are so many wonderful people that are doing so many wonderful things. And we just want to be a small little part of helping share about the really special thing. And so I'm thankful for the work that you've done for 20 years in our community, helping highlight all of those good and wonderful things. And of course, on occasion, those are really hard things too. But thanks for what you do there. And we're trying to join you and so many other people who have just holding up a microphone, holding up a little megaphone to the people in our community. So
I get excited about talking about things that are going on in our community. Like, I go to a lot of events. I just went to a musical theater at the Red Carpet Event Center a couple of Saturdays ago, and people were like, "How did you know about this? How did you know?" It's like, well, it's my job. I interviewed the director of the play. It was on my noon show, and so I wanted to check out the play. And so it's cool that I have a job where I get to meet a lot of these people that are doing the things that you're talking about. Get to meet them firsthand and learn what they're doing in our community, and then support them. I want to support the people that are trying to make our community better a little bit, just a little bit better.
Yeah, agreed. Well, wonderful. Jim, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. We have this little segment at the end of each show called the unpaid ad. So is there someone, something, some idea that you think deserves a little shout out?
I would say, try like the local craft in cocktail situation we've got going on right now in our community is really cool. I love going to the Iron Street Distillery. It's on my side of town. It's a great little place. They've renovated this place. So if you haven't been there, that's probably what I would really recommend.
Fun.
It's got a great vibe to it. Those people that are the Johnson family is just doing some amazing things over there. And
incredible what they've done.
Love going there and just supporting them. And so I think I'm a craft beer drinker mostly. I love beer, but I'm dipping my toe into the craft cocktail industry, and I'm really loving it. I think they've got some really cool things happening over there.
Well, and I'm gonna piggyback off of yours. Blue Goose in downtown. It's a speakeasy, and they did such a good job. I think they did such a good job. The environment is really beautiful and fun. It has kind of a theme, it feels thematic without being kitschy. I don't know. They did such a good job with it. And so I would recommend that you go and check out Blue Goose as well.
I agree.
Well, sweet. Jim, thank you so much for coming and joining us on the podcast. We really, really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.